What if the most powerful wizard alive was hiding as a shepherd, not training in secret, not biding his time, just hiding, because the woman who loved him most made him promise to disappear. For 8 years, Tehran kept that promise. He watched the sheep. He stayed quiet. He let the world forget he existed. But monsters don't care about promises. And the moment one shows up at his village, a leopard the size of a house, wrapped in shadow, that even knights fear, Tehran does something no one expects. He kills it. Alone. In seconds. Without breaking a sweat. No fanfare. No witnesses. He drags the corpse into a ravine and goes back to his hill. That's the kind of person we're talking about today. A boy who's never left his mountain, never read a book, never even learned the name of the power running through his blood. And yet every wizard who crosses his path walks away shaken to their core. Today we're recapping the full story of Tehran, the shepherd who might just be the most dangerous being alive, and has absolutely no interest in letting anyone know it. Let's get into it. He was merely a young shepherd boy from a remote border village. Yet, when faced with a ridiculously powerful magical beast, there was not the slightest trace of fear on his face. With just a flick of the long whip in his hand, he killed the leopard-like magical beast on the spot. When Tehran was 10 years old, he discovered that he possessed this kind of power. At that time, he had been eager to tell his mother. He said that he could make wood float. Not only that, he also said he could create fire and summon wind. But the moment his mother heard this, she instantly lashed out at him in anger. That was the first time he had ever seen her angry, and also the last. After his mother's anger gradually subsided, she called Tehran to her side, wanting to have a proper talk with him. She asked him whether he wanted to keep living together with her. If he did, then he had to promise her one thing. From that day on, he must never use that power again, and he absolutely could not let anyone discover it. Tehran did not understand why, so his mother asked him, "Do you still remember the stories about nobles and knights?" Tehran said of course he remembered. She then explained, whether noble or knight, anyone who possessed a special ability would be called a wizard. But nobles and knights were different in essence. Nobles were descendants of the holy people, the Phryans, who descended upon the world to save the humans of the old age. As for knights, they were descendants of nobles whose bloodline had mixed with that of humans. So even though they were all wizards, people would still treat nobles and knights separately. And that was exactly why she had to tell Tehran why he could not use this power. Because he had inherited his father's knightly power. Outside this town, there were many evil nobles who would treat knights as slaves. So you must remember, you must never let anyone know that you are a wizard. You can promise me that, right? From that day on, for a full 8 years, Tehran kept the promise he had made to his mother. But one day, a young man from the village came running to tell the elder. A monster had recently appeared on the edge of the village. That monster was wrapped in pitch-black shadow from head to toe, like a leopard as large as a house. The villagers were all uneasy, but the village chief had already gone into the city to bring back a wizard. As long as the chief brought a wizard back, that monster would surely be subdued. After hearing this, the elder reminded them, "You all must be more careful. Without a wizard, it was almost impossible to kill a monster." The young man replied that the villagers had already been warned, but not someone specific yet. The elder froze. "Who do you mean?" The young man then told the elder it was Tehran, the shepherd living on Mount Hizron. At that moment, Tehran was lying on a lush green grassy slope, staring boredly at the pale blue sky. The same scenery, the same life, day after day. If things went on like this, he would soon forget how to even open his mouth and speak. Just as the boredom was giving him a headache, a voice came. "Poor little brat. The sun hasn't even set yet, and you're already lying here slacking off." After seeing who it was, Tehran directly told him to get lost. "Don't block my sunlight." The man said irritably that Tehran had no manners. "Are you still holding a grudge over what happened back then?" "What happened back then?" Tehran asked coldly. "You mean when my mother died and you tried to secretly turn my sheep into public property?" The man coughed dryly twice and did not argue. Tehran continued, "If that's what you mean, then yes. I'm not that generous. I won't share what my mother left behind with anyone else. Besides, we're not close enough to exchange greetings. Why did you come here? Say it and leave." These words made the old man want to scold Tehran on the spot, but Tehran's cold gaze cut him off abruptly. The old man averted his eyes, deliberately avoiding Tehran's stare. He told Tehran that a monster had appeared near the village, said to be a leopard as large as a house, and that Rabies was the one who had discovered it. After hearing this, Tehran showed no fear at all. He merely stroked the lamb in front of him and said that it really was troublesome. The old man grew even more puzzled. "You're not afraid? Around here, you're the most likely one to be targeted. I really don't know where you get your nerve from. Anyway, the village chief has already gone into the city to bring back a wizard, so be careful. I'm only warning you because I'm worried about you." The moment he finished speaking, Tehran replied coldly, "You are too hypocritical. Why not just say directly that you're worried about the sheep? Why insist on saying you're worried about me? Now that you're done talking, hurry up and get lost. That filthy mouth of yours will only make the air stink if you stay here." The elder trembled with rage, turned around, and walked back the way he had come. In this world, the only beings that could be called monsters were beasts that possessed mysterious powers and magic. If there were wizards above humans, then there were monsters above beasts. For a wizard to come to a remote village like this because of a monster, it seemed Tehran would finally get to see a wizard with his own eyes. But if they were wizards brought from the city by the village chief, they might not be anything particularly remarkable, even if they really were wizards. Still, Tehran wanted to see with his own eyes what kind of beings they really were. And at that very moment, Tehran's keen nose caught a scent. This smell, it was blood. Tehran immediately followed the scent. When he reached the source, he saw that the old man who had spoken with him just now was already dead. He had clearly come to warn Tehran to be careful. Yet he himself had been attacked first. Judging from the wound, this was definitely not something an ordinary beast could have done. Then it could only be the monster he had spoken of. Tehran suddenly sensed movement all around him. As that movement drew closer, he saw with his own eyes the leopard-like monster the old man had described. Huge as a house. At the same time, a child at home asked his father, "Can the grown-ups really not defeat that monster?" His father answered, "That's right. If ordinary people like us rush at it, I'm afraid not even our bones would be found again." The child asked worriedly, "Then what will happen to our village?" His father comforted him softly. "Don't be afraid. The village chief will bring back a wizard. Wizards can subdue monsters." But the child still asked innocently, "A wizard can definitely defeat it, right?" His father said, "They are great beings born with magical power. With just a single word, they can destroy those terrifying monsters." And at that moment, Turan was quietly watching that ferocious leopard-like magical beast. He softly uttered a single sentence. In the next second, the leopard-like magical beast actually retreated several meters, because in that instant, it had smelled the aura of a hunter from Turan. Watching its reaction, Turan muttered in a low voice, "So, it doesn't work anymore." Immediately after, the magical beast once again viciously pounced on Turan. Turan shouted, "Stop!" The leopard-like magical beast was once again driven back several meters by his voice. "So it really doesn't work anymore. Otherwise it wouldn't be unable to stop even after being told to stop." Just then, the leopard-like magical beast raised its sharp claws and smashed them down toward Turan. The golden markings on its face made its savagery utterly plain to see. Before the claws could fall, Turan had already darted to the other side. Seeing how frenziedly ferocious it was, Turan let out a soft sigh. "In that case, I'll use the method a shepherd should use." The magical beast saw him assume that posture and immediately gathered itself to pounce. Turan spoke 2 words toward the stone on his left, "Harden." Then he tightly wrapped the stone with the long whip in his right hand. A golden light also lit up in his eyes. Then he swung the long whip. As he stepped forward, he spoke again, "Faster." The instant the whip lashed out, the stone shot forth like a cannonball, hurtling straight toward that savage magical beast. A loud bang rang out. The stone grazed past the side of the leopard-like magical beast's ear, instantly bringing up a spray of blood. The magical beast flew into a rage on the spot, baring claws and fangs as it lunged at Turan like mad. But what Turan had truly aimed at just now had never been its ear, but its head. Almost in the very next instant, the stone pierced straight through its skull. Looking at the magical beast collapse dead onto the ground, Turan murmured to himself, "This is the first time I've used this ability on a monster. But now, should I throw you into some ravine, or what should I do?" Turan could not help but curse once. Those bastards in the village really know how to cause trouble. After handling all of this, he returned to his home on the mountain. Because he had once promised his mother, he had never told anyone that he was a wizard, nor had he ever used that power in plain sight of everyone. Just as he was about to rest, there was a sudden urgent knock at the door. The person outside shouted his name while pounding on it. Turan had only just pulled the door open when he saw a group of villagers staring at him with fierce looks. It turned out they had come to ask about the old man who had gone to see Turan earlier. He let out a yawn and asked indifferently, "Are you trying to say that I killed Robbies?" Before he could even finish speaking, the burly man at the front grabbed him by the collar, glared at him, and roared, "Yes, it was you. You damn bastard. You harmed that innocent old man and even threw him to the monster as food." Turan was silent for a moment before speaking. "I understand why you want to pin this on me. You're afraid of the monster and don't dare fight it. So all you know how to do is run." As a result, the oldest man in the village got dragged into it and died. "You're afraid others will call you cowards, so you want to shift the blame onto me." The man grew even angrier after hearing this and raised his fist, about to knock Turan down hard. But Turan merely tilted slightly to one side and dodged it. To Turan, magic was the easiest way to solve things. As long as he strongly desired something, it would come true at the cost of consuming magic power. Turan softly uttered the word, "Fall," and someone in the crowd immediately crashed hard to the ground. To suppress them, there was actually no need for flames or any kind of direct attack. Just a little inconspicuous force was enough. It would not go so far as to kill anyone, but it could still pin them to the ground with absolute pressure. This was how all these years he had hidden the fact that he was a wizard. Looking at the people sprawled all over the ground, Turan let out a long sigh. If only you had used this energy at Robbie's funeral. He then turned and asked the group of women beside them, "Did you come to fight too?" They hurriedly explained that they had not. They had only come to see him. Turan was silent for a while, then told them to take these people back. After dealing with all these annoying matters, he finally prepared to take off his clothes and rest. Turan knew very well that after that commotion, the village would definitely become even more chaotic. When he went down the mountain to trade, they would surely take the chance to extort him. But it did not matter. At worst, he would just beat them until they were willing to offer a fair price. Just then, a voice interrupted Turan's thoughts. Turan muttered under his breath, "Are those people crazy? They've come back to pick a fight again so soon." He yanked the door open, about to shout at them angrily. But to his surprise, the person standing outside was actually a middle-aged man. Turan frowned and asked who he was. The man paused for a moment and said, "Forgive my intrusion. I originally wanted to ask you for a favor during my journey, but it seems this may not be a suitable time." When Turan learned that the man was a traveler, he fell silent for a moment. He then apologized, saying that he had just driven away a few unwelcome guests and had thought they had come back again. These formal expressions were all things his mother had once taught him. But because of that miserable village, he had almost never really spoken properly with anyone, which made him feel somewhat awkward. Looking at the man's outfit, Turan grew even more puzzled. Why would a traveler carrying a sword come to such a remote little town? He asked, "Are you looking for an inn?" The moment he said it, he heard the sound of the man's stomach growling. Turan let out a sigh, but still opened the door and let him in.